Good morning, Munising, and welcome to Coffee with Casey from the Gallery Coffee Company inside the Jamadot Studios. I'm your host, Casey Ford, as we are going to be talking about 30 years of the Michigan Ice Fest today. Now, before we get started, you see the logo right there in the background, and you notice there was some hair that was there. I did a thing. And that thing was shaved my head. And I didn't realize going into today, like how shiny my head was going into all the lights, Bill. But it's a new look. A lot of people liked it, but everybody has an opinion. And a lot of people on Facebook didn't really like it. And I was just like, well, it's not your head. But I was super concerned. And I think concerned's the right word because I've never shaved my head before. And I didn't know if it was going to be lumpy, what it was going to look like if it was going to be misformed, or disformed. I didn't know because I've never done this. So I'm super happy to announce I have a pretty round head. That's I don't know if there's any brains in there, but I got a pretty round head. And I honestly think it looks pretty good, but I've never done this. And I'm excited to try this. I'll probably end up growing my hair back, but it's one of those things where I just got sick of it. I mean, it's thick, it's nasty. I don't want to make appointments. And I was just going like this. And I was like, oh, just get rid of it. Have you ever reached that point where you're just like, you know what, just take it all. Just get rid of it.
Hey, I understand it. Sometimes you have to take a chance.
You do.
And you did. And I think it's paying off for you.
I was talking to some people yesterday and I was just like, I needed some sunglasses, and maybe people think like I'm FBI or something cool, like have one of those good, strong looks, like, hey, that guy's like a bouncer or something. And I was like, I got the beard. The beard's not going away, but yes, I'm super excited to have this look, and we'll see how long I stick with it because 30s today, 30s tomorrow, but for Ice Fest weekend, they're talking like high at 12, maybe 17, lows in the single digits. You have to be extremely happy with that.
That's what we want. And actually, this warm weather prior to the event actually is good for us because it melts a little snow, gets a little bit more water into the system, and then those cold temperatures come in and freeze those formations, and it makes it just perfect for us.
And let's talk about that because this past week into the weekend, they were only calling for like an inch or two yesterday, Sunday night into Monday. They weren't calling for a whole heck of a lot. And I had to go home yesterday and I got in the driveway and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like a foot of snow here. And it's all that lake effect, white, fluffy stuff. So when you see all the snow that we've gotten over the last 3 weeks, you talked about, getting hard and soft and then, how it's good. But I guess, how does that help with the ice formation? Because just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking Lake Superior only had 18% of the lake frozen. They said that was so far behind. So what's that do for you and Ice Fest going into this weekend?
Well, we like weather.
Yeah,
we really do. And
not too much warm weather. You don't want 50s and 60s.
We don't want that. We don't like that kind of weather, but we like weather. We like cold and we like snow. And so we have a crew coming up from Memphis. These folks really haven't seen snow. So I can't imagine when they're pulling into Munising, what they're thinking with all the piles and piles of snow. And I just think that's pretty special and makes Munising and the Upper Peninsula unique for a lot of these visiting climbers that come really from all over and don't get to see winter like we see it every day.
Let's talk more about that. You talked about Memphis, but they're coming from all over. When I was doing this a couple of years ago, they were from Oregon and California, Colorado. You talk about Memphis. First, do they ever drive in stuff like this? I know Seattle and Colorado, things like that do, but people from Tennessee, they don't see this weather a whole heck of a lot.
Right. They're going to drive in it this weekend. And so, yeah, it's a big eye opener. And, we've been doing this a long time. And no one ever goes, hey, do you remember when it was 30 degrees and we went ice climbing? But everyone remembers, hey, do you remember that whiteout storm and how cold it was? And the wind was blowing off Lake Superior. That was so cool. And that's kind of what we want. We want to give them a real experience. And so it looks like we're going to have that this year.
Bill Thompson from Downwind Sports and Michigan Ice Fest joins us right here. Coffee with Casey from the Gallery Coffee Company inside the Jamadot Studios, and 30 years of this thing. Obviously, we've seen some warm weather. I specifically remember 2017 being extremely warm. I was in the golf course in Grand Rapids playing with my brother. My father ended up passing away this year. The only reason I know 2017 was extremely warm. And when you see stuff like that, when you have these cold patterns, which we are used to, but then you have a year or two where it's extremely warm, how do you adapt to something like that?
Well, that year we were really fortunate because we had good ice, and that year we had a 60-degree day on Saturday, and everything was melting, and so um, we were really fortunate that happened on Saturday because it did knock out a few of the climbs, and we just closed those climbs so people couldn't climb them just for safety reasons, and so we can survive that. We just can't survive it long term.
Deb Fulcher says, "Hey, Bill, have a great weekend." Thank you, Deb, for watching Coffee with Casey
We love her.
on the YouTube page and on the Rome Media Facebook page and SoundCloud and Spotify. Got to throw that out there. If you have any comments or have any questions, please feel free. Go to the Rome Media Facebook page. You can ask them. I will try to get them on the air and do my job. I'm actually hosting and directing this morning, and it's the first time I've been able to do this. So let's 30 years. What are some of the memorable ones? Because, I mean, 30 years is a long time. How has this evolved in the time that you've been a part of Michigan Ice Fest?
Sure, and I think some of your Munising listeners will recognize some of these places, but really the first ice climbing festival happened back in 1991 or so, and it was organized by a gentleman by the name of Mark Raish. And basically, he put out a Xerox flyer and invited climbers to come up, and they went out and explored because there just wasn't a lot of ice climbing happening back then. And everyone just went out and climbed and then met back at Ziegert's, which is the old Sydney's. And so they would have a couple cocktails, and they were downstairs, and they did a little presentation, with all the waitresses walking through the slideshow, and it was pretty cool. It was big. It was big news because there was 10 people here, and I think Mark actually advertised it as 20 people, but I think he counted 10 or 11 snowmobilers as part of the festival, and so that's kind of how it all started. And myself and my climbing partner Arnie Ronis went to that one. And in 1995, Mark he was having a family and decided to step back from that, and that's when we asked if we could take it over, and he graciously said we could, and so that's so we've been coming there ever since, and we just love Munising. They really welcome us, and it's a great place to have a festival.
And it's silent sports. Silent sports have been huge in this area, not just the Valley Spur or the Nokemenon Trail Network, or even going skiing in Mount Bohemia or going to Marquette. I mean, silent sports have really taken off in the last 20 or 30 years. Did you see something like this with especially 30 years of Michigan Ice Fest now? Did you see this taking off when you're taking over in 1995?
Well, it's been a slow and steady growth, and so we have always known how good the ice climbing is here. I mean, it really is one of the top destinations in the country, if not the world, for ice climbing. And so, we would get on our pulpit and really preach that you got to come here, and professional climbers from out of the area were going, Michigan, and they immediately think of Detroit.
So, ironic that we both say Detroit at the exact same time. Yeah.
And so it took a long time, but it wasn't until my 40 Instagram followers, I'm preaching to them. It wasn't until Conrad Anker came up and did the National Parks Adventure film, the IMAX film, and it was his first experience, and he was blown away. And so with his million plus followers said, the greatest place in the world to go ice climbing that nobody's ever heard of. And from that point on, it really blew up. And so we started seeing more people coming in. And then with the advent of social media and some of the photos, it's crazy because people just don't see ice climbing over open water like we have here. You don't have that anywhere else in the country.
You don't.
No. And so when these professionals go, where the heck is this? that's when they want to come to Michigan and ice climb.
Well, you mentioned some of the professionals that have come here, but what other things do you guys do, not just with Downwind, but Michigan Ice Fest, to promote the area? I mean, I'm assuming you're like doing like a Pure Michigan campaign or putting things in like magazines and making sure that your target audience is like a Colorado where, Aspen, great place to snow, Colorado Springs, you're going out to Seattle. What are some of the other things or places that you're marketing to get those people here?
Well, with ice climbing, it's that sport that you just don't go into Downwind Sports and buy ice climbing gear and go ice climbing, right?
Right.
So you have to learn how to do it. And so that's why the Ice Fest is important, so that somebody can come in with relatively low cost, get an experience, and, we're banking on that we'll hook them, and then they'll become,
No pun intended.
That's right, that they'll become ice climbers and then start traveling up here. And so we have seen that we have developed ice climbers that come up, and they come up more than just ice fest. And so what's unique again about Munising, being at 600 feet above sea level, we have ice climbing from December into May. And you don't have that at sea level anywhere else in the country with this easy access. So people can come up here and go climbing for a good portion of the year, and they do take advantage of that. So what we do to get them here and to make them aware is we do a lot of Facebook, Instagram, social media. We have quite a following now, just based over 30 years of acquiring this, but we also have media sponsors like Climbing Magazine. And so for the last 4 issues, there's been full page ads in there advertising the ice climbing in Munising. And so, if you have local Munising listeners that want to stop by this weekend and grab a free copy of Climbing Magazine, they can kind of see the inside back cover is a climb called HMR out on the shores of Lake Superior.
Bill Thompson joins us right here, Coffee with Casey from the Jamadot Studios inside Gallery Coffee Company, as we talk about 30 years of Michigan Ice Fest. And I know you said December to May, you guys are doing ice climbing. You teach classes on this. So you say there are people that aren't experienced with this. What are some of the things that people fear, or they get to learn, or they make the mistake like right away when they're getting out on the ice for the first time?
Well, what we try to do, and we do it during Ice Fest, and I always tell the same story every year. It's kind of like if you're going to go to basketball camp and have Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Larry Bird. Those are your coaches. That's kind of what Ice Fest is. So we invite all these professional athletes in, and so you are going out to learn how to ice climb with them. And so ice climbing can be difficult if you don't know what you're doing, but with these professional athletes, they kind of shorten that learning curve and give you success. And so if you can climb ice in Munising, you can climb anywhere because all of our ice is vertical. You go to Colorado, we always tease anybody can climb ice in Colorado because it's low angle, it's sunny and 50 degrees,
T-shirts.
Yeah, they can smoke a cigarette up on the climb if they want to. Here, you can't do that. It is vertical. And so we start people off on a little bit smaller climbs to kind of get them used to it and give them the proper instruction to be successful.
Bill Thompson joins us right here, Coffee with Casey from the Jamadot Studios, and we're talking ice climbing, 30 years. People have already started to come into the area. I do want to talk about this, and the reason we're doing this on a Tuesday is it's jam-packed. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and it's going to be here at Gallery Coffee Company as well. I mean, a couple of years ago, we started doing coffee talks that were here. That seemed to be a pretty big success, especially on the Friday, Saturday edition.
Sure, and so we have these folks that have been coming up for so long, and a lot of people come up and they may not climb a lot of ice. They're here to, soak in the entire festival. And so part of that, very important part of it, is our coffee talks in the morning here at Gallery Coffee Company. It's great. You can come in, grab a cup of coffee, get a muffin, and sit in the audience, and we have these special presentations. And so people can go to our website to see if there might be one they might be interested in. Local community members can come in. It doesn't cost them anything. That's a free program. And so we do that every morning, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
And what time does that start?
You're putting me on the spot, Casey.
Sorry.
I believe it's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Some start at 8, some start at 9. I think we're doing 2 a day.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And that's what happened a couple of years ago as well. We were doing a couple a day,
Yeah.
and they would start at 8, and then another one would be like 9 or 9:30 kind of deal. Depends, honestly. And this is a great place to ask questions because the performer, I say performer, but the guy up on stage or the girl up on stage, they want questions.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no such thing as a bad question, especially when you don't really know a lot that's going on. So I think it's great that you get the education as well before going ice climbing.
Sure. I'm just going to mention 2 of those coffee talks because you don't necessarily have to be involved in ice climbing to enjoy the presentations or learn something from that. So one of our presentations is a woman by the name of Kate. She came in from Bozeman, Montana, and we have a program called Artists on Ice. And so she'll be featuring a lot of her climbing art and landscapes here at Gallery Coffee Company. And so she's going to be talking about art. So once again, it's not necessarily...
What better place than Gallery Coffee Company to talk about art?
Absolutely. And then on Saturday, we have Marcus Garcia. He's from Colorado, and he's going to be talking about grief and mentorship in climbing, but that can be related to other areas. And so, ice climbing is a sport where at the elite level, you do lose people every once in a while and partners, and he's going to have a very serious talk on that. So very, very interesting topics all throughout the Ice Fest weekend.
And I know you have classes and things like that are taking place, and people are like, oh, well, what else is there to do? And people go out to like the ice caves out in Eben. It's big weekend up at Michigan Tech this weekend. You know what's going on, the sculpturing and the statues up at Michigan Tech. How does that all coordinate and correlate with each other when you have so much that's going on this weekend in the Upper Peninsula?
Sure. We see that in the wintertime, we see it in the summertime. And so families or whomever are going to come up and they're going to participate in Ice Fest. They may go do the fat bike race over in Marquette or go up to Tech to see those statues. So you can make a family adventure of the whole thing. Summertime, they come here and go sea kayaking, and then they join us for rock climbing. So they get this action-packed weekend that they can do things. And so we encourage people, whether you're a climber or not, to come to Munising, go out and see the ice climbers, maybe see a program, grab a cup of coffee or a bite to eat somewhere in town. And I think it's just fun to get out. And that's honestly, that's why we live here, right? So that we can do these things.
Speaking of fun, I do want to point to like Friday night. There's something called a street dance. It's at East Channel Brewery, and people love this thing, and it's super popular. And that's the one of the nights that East Channel is open until midnight that night. Talk about that a little bit.
Right. And
there's no such thing as a bad beer.
No, particularly when it's cold.
Right.
So it's one of those things that it's based out of the tradition of Ice Fest, where the original pioneers of our festival would go out and climb and then get together and socialize afterwards. And so Munising's fortunate to have a few different breweries, and each night we kind of go to each one to kind of meet and maybe tell tall tales. And East Channel Brewery, the street party, is one of those spots. Thankfully, the city has allowed us to close down the road, and we put up a big circus tent out there. We have little fire pits going. This year, we're going to have a little music, and it's just a great way to get together. And I just want to emphasize, too, it's not just Ice Fest. It's the community is invited to all of this as well, because we feel that the community members are just as big of a part of Ice Fest as climbers are.
And I know there's some things going on here at Gallery Coffee Company at night as well. Talk about that a little bit.
Yep. So that will be...
I know we're kind of going out of order.
Sure, that's all right. That'll be Saturday night.
Yep.
So that is kind of when we really let loose and have fun. And we'll have live music from the Way Outs, who's a local band here.
Love the Way Outs.
Yep.
Love one of the guys that's in the Way Outs. Happens to be my son's teacher, Rodney Gendron.
Oh, of course. Rodney and I go way back from college days. So,
okay.
Yeah. And if you've never heard them, I mean, they just put on
They're fantastic.
they put on a great show. And so, a quick story from last year, or last time we did this in 2019, someone came up to me at the party and goes, "Who are these guys? They're fantastic." I said, "Oh, that guy that's playing guitar, man, he's a school teacher in Munising." He goes, "What?
Get out of here!"
Yeah, exactly. So,
Bill Thompson joins us right here, Coffee with Casey from the Gallery Coffee Company inside the Jamadot Studios. You brought it up, 2019. Obviously, we knew what happened last year when it came to Ice Fest. So this is technically the 30 years of the Michigan Ice Fest. How has that helped you with the time off? And does that hurt you not having it for a year? Because obviously there's a lot of planning that goes in.
yeah. Well, it was more heartbreaking than anything.
Correct.
And so we regard this as a family reunion, really. And so it was sad. So we did it virtually last year. And so I came over to Munising and sat over in our store, and we did virtual presentations and had all of our Ice Fest family from all over the country chiming in and saying how sad everybody wasn't together, but understandably so. And so what it allowed us to do is have an extra year of planning to make this one pretty special. And so and I think we've done a good job. We've brought a little bit of our history into it. We've brought back old presenters, and people that haven't come here for a while that may have moved away are coming back. And so, we're proud of that and pretty excited.
Bill Thompson joins us right here at Coffee with Casey. I want to say good morning to Aaron Miller, Claudia Van Lanschut, Kelly Rep, David Olala, Janine Daniels, and Deb Fulcher watching currently on the Rome Media Facebook stream. You can also watch on YouTube, and you can listen on SoundCloud and Spotify when we're all said and done here. But this is Coffee with Casey from Gallery Coffee Company in the Jamadot's studios. So with COVID, how has things changed with schedules? Because obviously the people that are coming in, they're out in the communities. It's always I want to say an ever-changing schedule, just like everything has to be. I always preference things with, as of right now, here's what's going on. How has that helped, and not helped, but how has that hurt you, or how has that worked with your schedule with having COVID still around and presenters?
Well, it's making my hair fall out faster than what yours did. So our schedule has been changing by the minute, really.
Right.
And so a few of our Canadian athletes weren't able to get into the country, or they could get into the country, they couldn't get out of the country.
Right.
We've had several athletes come down with COVID who aren't able to attend, and so it's been kind of a shell game for us trying to fill their spots, and it's just something that we have to stay on top of. And we're taking precautions to try to keep everyone as safe as possible. Having masks at the headquarters and at Mather for the evening presentations are one of those things that we're doing.
I want to do some shameless self-promotion right now. If you're looking for any Rome gear, t-shirts, sweatshirts, beanies, you can get them at Hillside Party Store East, Hillside Party Store West. You can get some of the stuff here at Gallery Coffee Company. Downwind Sports also has your Ice Fest gear. I mean, you guys have and it's not just Ice Fest, but let's just say you want one of those instant burners. And I got one for my wife a couple of years ago. She absolutely loves it when we go camping, things like that. But talk about some of the things that you have just in case people forgot something for Ice Fest.
Sure. If anyone is looking for anything, it won't be at Downwind Sports. Some of the stuff that we normally sell will be over there, but we've virtually picked up the entire Michigan Ice Fest store and moved it over to the community center. And so we're in the gymnasium over there, and it's once again, you don't have to be part of the festival. You can come in, look around. There's vendor booths. We have a bunch of nonprofits that are there. And so if you're just looking for something to do, come on over and see us. But we'll have all of the Ice Fest merch over there.
This would probably be the first time I can't get it on the screen because David has sent a pretty lengthy message. So I don't know how this plays out. So I'm going to get to it. I will read it. And it said, Bill, the Downwind team and Munising should be applauded for creating a globally visible event that legitimizes the caliber of the UP as a bona fide outdoor destination. Knowing your Not in for the recognition. Thanks a ton. Hey, and it all fit. So even better. This is the first time like we've had a super long one, and I didn't know how it was going to go. But David, thank you for the comments on that as well. If you want to give us any comments, you can go to the Rome Media Facebook page. But what does that mean to you when it legitimizes Munising as an outdoor event?
It means the world to us. And David's right. We don't do it for us. We do it for, we're promoting a lifestyle,
Right.
really, right? And so we're just trying to expose people to something that they may not have ever thought that they could do.
Right.
And this is something in Munising's backyard. And how many people in Munising have ever tried ice climbing?
I have not. I'm still scared to death of it.
Well, and that's why you should try it, right? So, do you like ice cream?
I love ice cream.
Me too. But at one point, you had to try ice cream for the first time, and so that's what I would encourage people to do. Is what? Let's try it. And so some of you might try it and say, I'm really glad I did that, but it's not for me. Some people might go, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I'm banking on that. And so that's what we do with this ice climbing festival. A lot of the different events that we do through Downwind Sports is just to try to expose people to different types of silent sports and or getting them outside at the in the Upper Peninsula to experience some of these beautiful places that we have in our backyard.
John Miller says, I like ice cream too. We talk about ice cream, and I'll get to another point in a second. We talk about ice cream, but we also talk about beer in this area because not only do you have East Channel, but you got By George Brewery. We're going to have some stuff that's down here. And I love the fact that people can just go out, be social again, and get to know things. Because I look at this town, especially in the summertime, and you know about summer and how popular this place, Munising, Michigan, is with tourists in the summer. I think we're getting there in the winter with the snowmobiling and the silent sports with Valley Spur and cross country skiing and the Munising Bay Network, things like that. I think we are getting there, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement. And I know weather makes a huge difference. Like this year, especially, snow in December was fantastic and a welcome sight for us. And then it melts and then it snows again. And you're like, yes, let's go. I think the early snowfall has really benefited this area this year with people coming up with their sleds and their skis and Ice Fest. And it may stick around till March or April, which is fantastic for this economy. Or, just like that, it could be 70 degrees on St. Patty's Day. You just don't know.
Right. But we have options.
We do.
We have options here. And so I think the people that live in the Upper Peninsula are resilient. So if we're ice climbing one day and cross country skiing one day and the next day we can't, then we're on to the stand-up paddling, the kayaking, the stream fishing or whatever. So Munising's got it going on for sure.
I know that people get confused, but what time do events start? Because technically everything's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this year?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Do we have, I know we talked about coffee talks, but I know people, so coffee talks, is it going to be one on Sunday? Or is it just Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay. And it starts right around 8 a.m. right here at Gallery Coffee Company. I'm sure you can go to like Michigan Ice Fest and look at their schedules.
So yes, we have programs. The official program is online at michiganisefest.com, or they're spread out all over Munising. Yes. Hillside has them.
We've had them down here.
Gallery has them, so you can pick up your own personal copy, and it's got a lot of the history. It's got the full schedule. It's got the athletes that are coming. All the different programming that we do is in there.
Before we get you out of here, one of your favorite places to ice climb here in Munising?
That's like asking who's your favorite child, and of course,
I have a favorite 4-year-old.
So
you're my favorite 2-year-old.
So anywhere out over the water and Lake Superior is special, and so I would have to say the west shore of Grand Island is probably my all-time favorite.
Okay.
And the reason is it's incredibly high climbs. It is above Lake Superior. And normally when I go out there, it's usually in March or early April. and it's sunny, and we don't always get sunshine and climbing here. So one of the interesting things about the climbing on the mainland here is, and I mentioned we can climb almost into May, is because none of the ice sees any sunshine.
Right.
It's all in the shade. West Shore is in the sun, and oh, is it special to suffer all season long, and then that springtime you get on the
I
West
like how
Shore,
you say suffer.
and it is so nice. It's just you're basking in the sunshine, and it's just prettiest blue ice. Oh, it's so good.
And I will say, as we speak right now, yes, we are live on the Roam Media Facebook page and on YouTube. The sun is shining, and it's nice after the Sunday and Monday that we had to get some of the sun. And the snow will settle. We talked about that earlier on. The snow will settle today and tomorrow, and then it gets colder again, which is beautiful and set for a beautiful weekend. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we get you out of here?
Oh, I just think people should take advantage of this and come out, whether you climb this weekend or not. And then if you don't like crowds, we do have a ice climbing guide service. And so we do take people out if you wanted to go with your family or a partner or whatever. We will take you out, and we do that also December through March. So.
All right. It's the 30 years of Michigan Ice Fest here, beautiful downtown Munising. It starts Wednesday, runs through the weekend. Come down to Gallery Coffee Company, enjoy some coffee, some muffins, some live presentations. You'll see Bill in and around the area. He's not going to be sitting still for a long period of time this weekend. So, Bill, I do appreciate you taking time out on this Tuesday to talk to us and getting ready for Michigan Ice Fest.
Thanks, Casey, and I can't wait to take you out ice climbing.
All right. Bill Thompson from Downwind Sports and Michigan Ice Fest joins us right here on Coffee with Casey from the Jamadot Studios inside Gallery Coffee Company. Have yourself a great week and enjoy Michigan Ice Fest. So long, everybody.